Hello, cats and kittens. Hola, Jose, Yoroshima. Welcome back to the Crisis Corner, and we're continuing our series on anatomy of the cover. As you know, the anatomy of the cover series is where I give a breakdown on the thinking behind the covers for any of our publications, specifically ones that I'm involved in as writer and composer of the cover. I'll give the composition information to the artist who does the cover. So it's a little inside baseball, behind the scenes type situation, and this is for you, our fans, our readers. So what we're going to do is we're going to give a breakdown. This is session 9, anatomy of the cover, session 9, which is covering the ninth chapter of Intrepid, which is the second issue or chapter of the second story arc, the Pandora's Cage story arc, as you can see on the interiors for the first 12 issues. Hopefully only for the first 12 issues. I did a little previously on type insert under the credits just to get people caught up on what happened previously, obviously. I'm hoping not to do that as the series kicks into issues 13 and beyond because it's a bit of a task. And as you can tell, at times I labor and start coming up with nonsense. So imagine, if you will, as you listen to this nonsense, that you're hearing the voice of Keith David. Okay, so that's what's going through my head as I'm composing this. First of all, story by myself. Series we have. This is unique to issue 9 or chapter 9. This chapter has 3 covers. 3 different covers by 3 different artists. I think that's the only. I'm pretty sure all the other chapters had 2 covers at best. I think this is the only one that had 3. So we have, as cover artists, we have Bobby Lex, who also did the interiors for issue 9 and is currently the penciler, does the interiors, the pencils, the inks for Intrepid. So we have Bobby Lex, he did one cover. Another cover was done by Bruno Lima, who did an alternate cover, and also Arturo Palacios, who did another alternate cover, all the inks by Dennis Lehman. He did the colors. Okay, that aside, let's look at these blurbs. And I just do this out of habit, just to mess with you. Anyway, this is kind of, yeah, okay, here you go. And imagine, again, Keith David. The winds of, I do the voice, but I can't do it, Anyway, the winds of destruction have begun to howl. The rampage of Fugitive 212 continues unabated. Even an entire company of the nation's elite manhunters proved to be no more of an encumbrance to him than a gentle breeze against the great oak. Wow. He remains at large, his objective unknown. Simultaneously, a word that nobody ever uses, simultaneously, the terrorist organization identifying itself as the Millennium Society has hijacked mass media for the purpose of making a formal declaration of war. Or against whom? Only time will tell. Amidst these tumultuous events, Joseph Paxson finds himself a man without a purpose. His life as an agent of law and order lost him. His fiery zeal for justice all but quenched. With nothing to believe in, He can only ponder over the path that led him to his current straits, specifically the final mission of his beloved teammates. So there's that. Like I said, it's nonsense. It's it is what it is. Hopefully, I don't have to do that anymore. But there you go. So this takes us to the first of our three covers. Let's start with cover by Bobby Lex. For this cover, I just wanted all of the covers tell a story, or they all definitely relate to what's inside the book. I like to have the covers tell a story in some way. And even if they're not an exact representation of what's going on inside the book, I want them to tell some kind of a story. The obvious story here is Celia. Celia is in the book, obviously, and she plays a large part in this chapter, even though she's not on that many pages. It's a flashback to when the Paxton and his team of fugitive retrieval agents were first abducted, and Celia was sent to do the job. She hijacked basically a aircraft full of about, I don't know, 20 to 30 or up to maybe 50 fugitive retrieval agents and just took them all just basically like that. She's hardcore. She's going to be an Intrepid villain far into the future. Celia is my girl for real. Her backstory is pretty nice, but anyway. And she's got the cover. All right. Now the interesting thing about this cover is that in its final form, there's actually a version of this cover where her eyes are red. The only color on the cover, aside from the logo and the masthead, all that, is just her eyes. I wanted to do black and white because we're American manga. The interiors are black and white. So just black and white with red eyes. I think that's deadly. It's just cool, in my estimation. And Bobby did a great job on the art. I mean, you just look at her. She looks like she wants to either kill you or hire somebody to kill you. That's Celia for you. She makes two of the covers. Another of the alternate covers, I hope it's the next one on the slide. No, that's the grind. No, let's just do it in order. This is the Grindhouse cover. Grindhouse is a style, a movie poster style, or at least that's how I look at it. It's a style of movie posters, and I had Luis, who did the interiors for some of the work in the trade. He did the backup story in the trade and does character designs for us, and he's also the artist on For Armageddon, which is written by Alan Cole and David Welcher. He did the interiors and smoked them. I mean, he's a great artist. So he did this cover, and I wanted it to have a 70s grindhouse feel. And actually, I can show you the references that I gave him. I hope they're next. Nah, don't worry about this. We'll get back to this. Yeah, here's one of that Grindhouse reference that I gave him for Grindhouse. There you go. There's one. Here's another one. This is 70s style, Grindhouse, American Grindhouse type posters. And you may remember Planet Terror, Robert Rodriguez movie that came out. It was a double feature, Planet Terror and something else. I can't remember which. Yeah. So that's what I was going for. So he hit me with this, and I was highly pleased. This is actually a scene from inside. Is it La Cancion or La Cancion? The bar that we first visit in Intrepid chapter 2. But this takes place a year prior to that because Paxton and his teammates, the Brat Pack, had were sent to bring in a man named Vargas, uh, and Ernesto Vargas. They were sent to apprehend him on a barrel sanction. We'll get into that later. If don't worry about it. So on his right is Nadia Maria Chavez, who is currently a massive weapon of mass destruction and not really in the story as of right now, as of issue 12. She'll be back. Don't worry about that. And to his left is Cynthia Romero, I believe. Another one of his teammates. Three of them infiltrated this bar and apprehended Ernesto Vargas. Leave it at that. Cynthia she won't be back for a while, but she's still alive, if you want to call it that. Yeah. So that's the cover. Yeah. This is the bar scene, which I thought was a really good scene in this chapter. It's actually paying off what we saw in chapter 2, this explanation of what actually happened that day, the final mission of Charlie Company, Fugitive Retrieval Team. So there's that. Again, a beautiful cover. I like the detail. I mean, it's tight. It's good stuff. I wanted to feel and look kind of like the good, the bad, and the ugly, or something like that, but through a grindhouse type lens, and it worked. So there's that. Now let's circle back to our homage. Uh, this no, that's not it. Let me go back. Wait a minute, I'm missing one. Here's our homage cover. Beware, Celia Strikes. Now, this is actually old school. Back in the old days, in the 80s, 70s, 60s, whatever, they used to have like, text on the cover of the books. Look out, Batman. The Riddlers are back or some nonsense or whatever. So I was feeling it. I was like, yeah, let's go back in the day and do some old stuff. So I said, beware, Celia Strikes. And that's Celia. That's my girl. She's Celia. Her backstory is actually pretty awesome. It's sad, it's tragic, it's pretty awesome. And this is a homage, which is pretty cool. If he captured. I don't think there was any water involved in but that's part of the homage anyway. This is when she actually captures Paxton and the rest of his friends. And it's pretty bad. They took an L. They took a hard L. His life is hard. And that's a homage to John Romita Jr.'s famous cover. See, they even had the old school text, Rogue Public Enemy. That's what I was going for. That kind of old school type deal. I guess the water came from when they're at the bottom. Bruno just went for it. And what I hadn't realized until this recording is that, you see, Rogue has a white stripe down the middle of her head. And I'm not sure if that is exclusively down straight like a skunk stripe right down the middle. Celia's is more front and to the side. Both of them do have that. Not on purpose. There's actually a story behind that, or not really a story, but it factors in to her background. But I can't give that up right now. But it's important. So there's that. But I hadn't really thought about that. Just looking at it, I see that now. So that's an homage cover, and that's done by Bruno Lima, and it's really cool. And again, it tells a story. The final ride of the Brat Pack Charlie Company and how they fell at the hands of wicked Celia. game. So that's the anatomy of the cover for Intrepid Chapter 9. I'll be back with Chapter 10, which was done by a different artist. But we'll get into that later. Again, let me know which cover you like the best. Do you go for the grindhouse, the homage, or the straight up black and white? That's all I have for now. Until next time, y'all stay loose.